This isn't scripted, and it's definitely not filtered.
Being addicted to drugs and alcohol is hard. Everything is hard, so you don't choose your heart.
This is Hard Truths, Uncut. We talk about all the things everyone's thinking, but nobody's saying online.
How do you turn that short-term motivation into long-term discipline and actually taking action?
If you're easily offended, this probably isn't for you.
I honestly say that's the key to being successful, is being comfortable with uncomfortability.
And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Now let's get into it.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you for watching my first ever podcast. I'm super excited to do this. I'm a very raw, unfiltered guy. I do never hold back. So it's going to be the premise of my podcast here. So wanted to introduce my first guest, Chris. He's a fitness influencer, and yeah, let's jump into it. Why don't you just tell the guys a little bit about yourself and whatnot, your journey.
Yeah, so I was always like a smaller guy, and I ended up actually hooked on drugs when I was in my early 20s, because I felt so I don't know, like not comfortable in my own skin. And one of the things that I found with drugs was like it made me feel myself, and I so badly wanted to be accepted. So, and this is like a very condensed version of it, but ended up in rehab, and then I gained 60 pounds in 6 months. And
Wow.
I essentially replaced drugs with food, and I had no ability to like regulate my emotions.
Wait, so did you gain that weight like after rehab? Like you were like,
I was gaining about 10 pounds a month
Wow.
in rehab.
In rehab. Wow.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was 150 pounds when I went into treatment. I was eating one meal a day, and like I was like a skateboarder, kind of like hood rat kid. So like,
Yeah.
I was probably doing like 10,000 steps a day, just walking around the city with my buddies. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was eating like one meal a day because all my money went to drugs, and so I budgeted in like one chubby chicken combo at A&W a day.
Yeah.
That's just like what I would do. And then yeah, when I got to rehab, I was like, man, I want to be 200 pounds. And like, I think in my head, I wanted to be like fit and like shredded, but like at 150 pounds, I was just skinny. Like I was skin and bones. So I was like, I need to eat double meals for everything. So I did that. And I was packing away like an entire package of like English muffins with jam every single night.
Wow.
And yeah. And so like, I think I was fairly healthy when I left, because I was underweight. So I left there at 200 pounds or 210 pounds. And but then it kept going, and I just kept eating like really poorly.
Would you say that like you had that vice of drugs and then you like substituted that for food?
Oh,
Would you
absolutely.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I had an inability to sit with myself and like I said, regulate my emotions. So my main reason for using drugs was I had brutal anxiety. Like from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, brutal anxiety. And drugs quieted that down, and it worked really well for a number of years. Like I was high every single day
Wow.
for years because it worked.
Yeah.
And then one day it didn't work anymore. And it never worked again after that day. And it was like I was just chasing some relief. And I got to a point where I just didn't want to live anymore.
Wow.
And yeah, like I got extremely lucky. I had a family who saw the trajectory of like where my life was headed, and they rallied around me, and I woke up to an intervention, and I got like the choice: you go to rehab or you're going to be homeless.
Wow.
And so I was like, man, like in that moment, I figured like I could try this rehab thing, because a big part of me did want to stop. I just didn't know what it looked like.
Yeah.
I figured I would give it a shot, and worst case, I fail. If I end up homeless, that's where I was headed anyways. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
homeless or dead. And so, or jail maybe. But those were kind of my options. And I think I was 23 when that happened. And yeah, I mean, um, when I left the rehab center, I kept gaining weight, and I had no fitness, and you know, years went by, and I've been sober since treatment. That's been almost 13 years ago.
Wow, 13. Wow, congratulations, man.
Yeah,
That's a
thanks,
real
man.
that's a really long time to be
Yeah,
sober. Good for you.
yeah, thanks. It was really hard the first year, and then it went really fast. But that whole time, so prior to getting sober, and then basically a decade after getting sober, I hated myself, like
Yeah.
deep self-hatred. And I talk about this lots on my Instagram, but that was kind of the like subtle subtext of my life. Like everything I did was from like a point of self-hatred. I hated my body, so I would like do an extreme diet to try and lose weight, or like punishing workouts to try and lose weight because I hated my body. But I was trying to hate myself into a better spot in life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like that was the thing I constantly tried to do, was hate myself into being better, and it always failed.
Yeah.
And so kind of jumping around here, but I ended up having my daughter being born, and that's been about 3 years ago now. But it was like something that really kind of shifted my entire way of thinking. It was no longer about me. Like my life was no longer about me, and it always had been. Right? I
Mhm.
was always selfish, and I remember waking up at like 10 and like I don't know. I probably woke up around 8 in the morning, and by 10 a.m. I was so exhausted I couldn't function, and I was like, how am I gonna like give this little girl a good life if I can't even keep up?
Yeah.
2 hours after waking up, I felt like shit constantly. My back hurt constantly. Like I had no motivation, no discipline, and I that began a journey of me trying. Like I didn't know how to love myself, but I felt like that was the key, and that was a very important thing for me to realize was if I can change my life from a place of loving myself instead of hating myself,
Mhm.
it was going to change everything, and it did.
Wow.
It changed my whole life, and
So
things happened really fast. I like lost a bunch of weight, got serious about fitness.
mhm.
I made a ton of mistakes, and it took me 3 years, but I've lost about 60 pounds, and I'm in the best shape of my life. And I have like my blood work confirms that. Like it's not even just like something people say. It's like I'm hands down the best shape of my life, and I feel the best.
Dude, that's a story, man. That's an absolute story. I like one thing that I find interesting about that story is that like there's these kind of like big turning points for you, you know, that it was just like you had these turning points, then that's when everything turned around between that intervention and then you having your daughter. So what I have to ask you that someone might be wondering watching this right now is how do you how do you go about changing your like completely transforming your life, changing your life without having that big turning point? Do you think that's necessary for someone to really go from point A to point B? Or like how does someone do that?
It's interesting because in all my time in recovery, like I primarily did AA, mostly for the community, and I think there's a lot of awesome principles in that group. Um, Something they always say there in the rooms is, rock bottom is when you decide to stop digging. And for me, like my life could have gotten so much worse, right? Like I could have kept trying to see how much like asphalt was on the road, and I did make that choice eventually to stop digging. So for me, it's tough. Like I don't think I could have done it any other way. I think some people can, and and that's yeah, that's a hard question to answer, really. Um, I think you just got to be tired, right? Like for me, the thing I've noticed is like the pain of staying the same eventually gets bigger than the pain of changing,
Yeah,
because it is painful to change.
it is. It is. And that's one of the hardest things, like even for myself too. Like I was drinking, doing drugs as
Hmm.
well, quite a lot. And anyone you would have talked to anyone a year ago today, and they would not believe you if I told them that I have a signpost business and I'm coaching clients and I'm changing their lives as well.
Yeah.
So the fact of like that change it's evident that it's possible for anyone, no matter how far gone you are. It is evident. But I find it's hard for people to like watch a story like me or watch a story like you and be like, they come up with all these excuses of, oh well, they only changed their life because this happened or that big event happened. So I'm just trying, what I kind of feel like people can resonate a little bit with is the fact that they might feel like their situation is different than anyone else's, because it is, everyone's
Hmm.
got their own situation, but nobody's situation is worse than others because everyone's going through something, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just really finding that core issue and then being able to kind of like, what can I do today to get 1% better, 1% better,
Mm,
1% better?
yeah. Did you have a moment like that where you had like a I have to change or else?
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. I was working at a bar, right? And it was completely normalized for people to just be drinking, doing drugs all the time. Like
Yeah.
it was just a normal thing there, right? And I found myself, I I wanted to have fun, and I didn't think that it was even possible to become successful and rich. I didn't. I
Mm,
genuinely thought that that was something that it was either handed down to you or you went to go be a lawyer, doctor, engineer. I knew really nothing about the entrepreneurial
life
space.
was as good as it was gonna get, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, and I'm like, I'm gonna live it up. Like when I was a kid, I always like dreamed of being a frat boy and like going to frat parties and like watching movies on TV and whatnot. Until it got to a point where I was like living this lifestyle and it was fun. Like, don't get me wrong, I loved it for like a certain period of time. And then it got to a point where it just got way out of hand and I was like just constantly out of money. And then the money that
Mm,
I did get, it would just be, what can I do to spend this on more liquor, or what Airbnb can I get for my next trip?
yeah.
It was just this ongoing, just like broke, spend my money on liquor. And I was just lost. Like I was literally lost in life. And it
Mm,
was like this one day, I distinctly remember I was working at this bar and I'm like, man, I'm like riding off like a 5-day bender, and I'm like, I'm like, this is it. I'm done. So I like got hammered that night, and I was up till, I don't know, probably 5, 6 in the morning. Went to bed, woke up at 3 in the afternoon, and I'm like, this is it. I'm like, this is actually it. So I decided I'm quitting. I'm just gonna lock in, and I didn't know what the future held for me. I didn't. I
mhm.
just quit the bar job, and I was just working out in the gym, rebuilding those relationships. And then after that, I was like, okay, there we go. I'm out of that situation. People were mad at me. Like I had a lot of people mad at me from
Yeah.
the bar and everything. And I was like pretty like scared about that. I had anxiety about that because like those were all relationships that I really valued at the time, right? And that was
Yeah.
probably the hardest part for me, was actually leaving those past relationships and like moving forward with my head straight. But after kind of getting past that roadblock and whatnot, I was 2, 3 months, I was like completely lost, right? I was like fine with that. I'm like, I'm just gonna work out. I'm just gonna work this minimum wage job and see where the future held for me. And
Mhm.
real estate signpost was the key formula, I guess. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I find it's like something I heard was, when you're walking through like a field of tall grass and there's a path through where somebody's gone down it a million times and it's down to the dirt. So it's easy to walk through it, right?
Hmm.
And that's kind of what life had always been like for me. I would do the same things, patterns over and over again. And I'd be surprised when I'd get to the same destination. But when I realized that I had to go off that path I was on and forge a new path through that tall grass,
Hmm.
um, the first time was going to be really difficult. The second time, it was going to be really difficult. Maybe a little bit easier, not necessarily. Third time, maybe a little bit easier. And eventually, after doing something different, like for me, um, you know, even just doing a 10-minute workout was forging that new path. It was difficult. It hurt my body. I was tired. Like all these excuses, I did it anyways. And then eventually, that new path was just as comfortable to walk down as that old path.
Yeah.
And that's like the key for, I think, changing your life in any capacity. It's not going to be easy the first time you do it.
No, no. And the thing is with life too is that everything is hard. No matter if you decide to go down the college route or you go down the corporate route or you want to go work 7-Eleven or you want to be an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter what you do, you are going to have struggles. Like I struggle every single day with like my business and like getting past roadblocks and like helping my coaching clients and whatnot. Like it's all stuff that is hard.
Yeah.
But working minimum wage is hard. Being addicted to drugs and alcohol is hard. Everything is hard. So, choose your heart. I'd rather choose my heart and choose the heart that is
Yeah.
going to make me the most successful, right?
Yeah, and that is a good point. That's something I talk about a lot with, prospective clients is, for my niche, like fitness, living in a state where you hate your body, you hate how you feel, you hate the way you look in the mirror, you're constantly doing like the fat guy, like shirt pull down.
Yeah.
That's hard and it sucks, right?
Mhm.
Like when I was living like that, life felt hard for me. And waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the gym and tracking my calories, that's hard too.
Hmm.
There isn't anything that's just like easy. And yeah, like you said, like choosing your hard, one gets you a reward, the other one doesn't really.
No,
So it's like I try to choose the hard that's going to give me some sort of payoff.
totally. Totally. I wanted to ask you too. I know everyone really knows this is it's very obvious with the fitness industry, online fitness industry, the coaching. It's a completely oversaturated industry.
Yeah.
One would say.
Yeah.
What makes you, like, when you look at yourself compared to everyone else, like why should someone work with you? Like what makes is it your story? Is it what you kind of have to offer? Like what makes you stand out from everyone else?
Yeah, it's something that I spend a lot of time thinking about. I don't want to work with everybody. You know what I mean? Like I think I've got some training now where I could, in theory, work with just anybody and get them some results. Um, but the thing that I get like passionate about is helping the guy who was where I was, because like every dude that I see that is like, I hate the way I look, I hate the way I feel,
Mhm.
and I work with them and I slowly see like the light come back into their eyes, and then like they get excited about stuff, and like the message being like, oh my God, I've lost 10 pounds and that hasn't happened in 10-20 years. Like it's like I get to relive that again of
Yeah.
like my own experience. And so I really like working with the guys who have been where I was. And that's like something we talked about earlier. I have the experience of having lived that, right? And there's lots of guys out there who are shredded, bodybuilder dudes. They're very good at what they do. They've been doing it probably most of their lives. There's some guys like you, who's been fit their whole life.
Yeah.
You have the knowledge and they have the knowledge of how to get somebody in a calorie deficit, how to, program workouts, nutrition, all that stuff. And you'll probably get the results, but the experience plus the knowledge, I think, is really important. And that's what I can bring to that specific client is I have the experience of what that feels like to wake up every single day for years hating yourself
Yeah.
and not knowing where to start and what to do. And it's one of those things like I had the experience in recovery too, because I help guys who through AA are trying to get sober.
Hmm.
And it's like they're in a deep dark hole and they don't know how to get out.
Yeah.
I was in that hole at one point too, right? And it's the same with fitness. I can crawl back into that hole with them because I know the way out. And it's like, I'm going to show you the way out because I've been there and I know how to do it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I did it all on my own with respect to fitness. Like I didn't have a coach, and it took me 3 years to get the results that I get guys in 16 weeks now, because I made every mistake in the book and I went down every wrong road that you could. And I would like calculate my macros incorrectly and find out that I'd been eating way too much food. And so like the past month had been no progress in terms of weight loss. And, so I have a way of doing it now that works, and it's like quicker to get those results because I've walked that path and now I know that way out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the guys I like working with, is the people that I can really relate with.
Yeah.
I'll work with anybody if they come to me, but
hmm
I think I can really relate to those guys and know how it feels, and that's important, I think.
No, totally. And I completely agree with you. And even with, like, as you said, like with my fitness and whatnot, like, yeah, I've been athletic my whole life. I've been pretty jacked in shape my whole life. I feel like I personally, like, I know I would never coach fitness. And just for the fact of, I'm not providing the value that a guy like you has gone through. I think it takes some serious experience under your belt and going through that hardship yourself
Hmm.
to be able to provide value to other people, because you can actually relive where they're at and
Yeah.
then go from there and be like, "Okay, bro, you know what? You're struggling with this right now. I was there a year ago, you
Hmm.
know?" So like, I not only can you resonate with their feelings, but then you can help them get past that.
Yeah.
And not only does it speed up their results, but it, yeah, again, as what you said, you relive through them. And
Yeah.
it's a way better feeling. I have felt so fulfilled seeing some of my coaching clients go from when that first call that we had of telling me all their issues and like all their hardships, and I resonate with everything, like rock bottom, to seeing like this glow in their eyes when they're succeeding at a way faster rate than I was, and not having that mental hardship of failure, 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 to be
Yeah.
able to provide them with all that value. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want to help someone that I can't help, like if they're going to come to me and they're willing to pay me money and they're like, "Oh, but I don't really need your help." I'm not going to take them on as a coaching client. I want to actually help someone. It's not.
Yeah, and I thought of something like a while ago when I was trying to do some of my marketing. An F1 driver, they're arguably some of the best drivers in the world, right? Like they're in the top 1% of the 1%. You wouldn't hire one of those guys to teach you how to drive,
No.
right? And like the guys I work with typically don't even know what a macro is. You know what I mean? Like they struggle with how to do a push-up properly.
Yeah.
And so I try and focus on the basics and do it really well, because going to a bodybuilder who's prepping guys to get on stage to get to sub 5% body fat, that's a very different like approach, and it's different strategies. It's the whole thing's very different. And I've seen some of the content of these elite athlete bodybuilder guys, and a lot of them are just like, just don't eat. Like, I don't get it. Like, you're fat because you eat.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I understand that, and that's true, but I eat because of these reasons. I hate
hmm
myself, like I have anxiety, I have this, I have that. There's stresses in my life. I don't have time. And it's like all these things that they can't understand, because it's like they're like, I make time. I spend 4 hours in the gym. I do this, I do that. I eat only rice and chicken. And like it's a very different, like it's the same thing, but it's very different.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah, you wouldn't hire an F1 driver to teach you how to parallel park.
Yeah.
It's
No,
they
totally.
can do it, but
Yeah.
you know,
And I don't know, you probably agree with this. This is at least how kind of I feel with everything and whatnot. I've been coaching for a month and a half, coming close to 2 months here, and I'm coaching three guys right now, and like I'm seeing that transformation in their life. But what really hurts me the most is when I'm on a call with a guy and they're telling me all these issues, and I know that they would be a perfect fit for my program, and I explain to them
mm,
my program and whatnot. And at the end of the call, when I'm like, all right, like let's move forward, let's get this going, they can't commit. And having them leave that call, it honestly, it hurts me a lot, because I know that they're gonna stay in that situation, and
yeah,
I can't help them when you know what, at the end of the day, everyone's going to make their own decisions, right? Like I'm not here to hold your hand. I'm here to kind of show you the road, right? So it does really hurt when I see guys and I see their potential, in their eyes, and I know that I can help them, but they just can't have that like level of
Yeah.
commitment for themselves.
I think it's ultimately fear,
Hmm.
because like I said, I was self-taught, so to speak, in terms of my fitness. And I didn't even think of hiring a coach. Like I don't know why I didn't think of it. It just didn't enter my mind. And looking back, it's something I would have done, um, knowing what it's like to be in the other seat now, because I would have put myself months, if not years ahead. But I one day had the realization, I'm asking people to do something with me, and that's invest money. Um, I'm asking people to do something that I myself wasn't willing to do, and that's invest, right? And so I hired a business coach because I wanted to start fitness coaching. And so um, I I started before I was ready. Um, I just made an Instagram page. I started posting content, but it was very unfocused, and there was no results. I didn't get anybody signed up, and it was really discouraging. I lost motivation all the time because it was like I'm speaking into like an empty room. I'm getting nothing back. And I saw a business coach, and I was like, this guy's speaking to me. He did a very good job with his messaging, and I booked the call, and he told me how much money it was, and I almost shit myself because it was a substantial amount of money. Like
Yeah.
we're talking a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay.
And I remember booking the call, and I was like, I'm doing this. I'm making the decision because I know it's the right thing. Like it felt right, and I could tell that's what I needed to do. And when I got to the part of the phone call where he's like, okay, it's this much money, uh, I was like, uh, I I need to think about it.
Yeah.
And and the reason was like I could probably make it work financially, but I had a lot of fear, and I was digging into that fear because I was sitting in the spot of a guy who is potentially signing up with me. What they're experiencing when I'm talking to them and I tell them my prices, because I get that same objection. I need to think about it. And in that moment, it's not so much the money, it's what if I fail? What if I put this money in and I still fail?
Yeah.
And I talked it out with this guy, and I've thought about it since that conversation. But it was, because this guy offered a money back guarantee. If you do these certain things, you will get the results you're looking for. And if you do those things and you don't get those results, you get your money back. And it was like, okay, now the ball's in my court. Can I do those things?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there was a fear of maybe I don't have what it takes. And so I decided in that moment, it's like, okay, I'm going to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And if you do that, like, it's almost impossible to fail. And I tell guys on phone calls and just in coaching, or even if I'm not coaching them, it's like it's scary when you start actually finding out what your real limits are.
Yeah.
And so a lot of guys just don't even try because they're scared of finding that out.
Why would you say they're scared of finding out those limits?
Because I think then you really get to know yourself. And that's kind of a scary prospect, because then like what you're made of, right? And
Yeah.
um sometimes that's a good thing, but it's also a scary thing, being like, I thought I was a hard worker and I found out I'm not, and then you're confronting yourself and looking in a mirror of like, maybe I'm not this, maybe I'm not that. And these are all stories, like all of it's stories designed to keep you where you're at, right? And to move to that next level, whether it's business or fitness, even sobriety, you have to confront those stories, because ultimately I've found that, like, if you have the thought that something is impossible, it is 100% impossible, because your actions will reflect that thinking.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't make time for fitness, then you won't every time, right? And if you're like, wow, maybe I could, cut my Netflix short by 20 minutes and do, 10 sets of 10 push-ups,
Hmm.
that'll take me about 20 minutes. And, you know, how many people you look at their screen time in a day and it's like many hours.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, put your phone down for 20 minutes and do something because right now you're doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a lot of like this like especially with social media and whatnot, it's that short-term dopamine kind of motivation rush. It's just like boom, you get it, boom. They the person on the other side of the phone watching, they agree with what you're saying. That's why they're following you. That's why they're watching your content because they're getting that short-term dopamine rush.
Hmm.
How do you turn that short-term motivation into long-term discipline and actually taking action? Because I was in that
Hmm.
spot too for months where like I'm watching like these guys that are telling me like, what are you doing, like turn your life around, like just very hardcore hustle culture stuff where I'm like, I'm watching this while I'm like hammered in my bed at like 2 in the morning. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, tomorrow's the day,
Yeah.
and nothing changes, right? How do you actually turn that into action?
Stop negotiating with yourself. That line changed my life. That single, like, 4 words changed my life because I constantly negotiated with myself. I'm going to do this thing on Monday. Monday would come. My back's a little bit sore. I tweaked it. Today's not the day. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow would come. I'm still not 100%. We're going to shoot for next Monday. I'll give myself some good time to rest. That next Monday would come. There was a new excuse. And when I was like, stop negotiating with myself, and I like tattooed that on the inside of my eyeballs, like thought about that constantly. I would have a thought. Sometimes I would tell people, but mostly it was just a thought like, okay, I'm going to go for a run tomorrow. Tomorrow would come. No matter how I felt or what was going on in my life, I was doing that thing because I went through a period of, like I said, trying to learn how to love myself. And I couldn't find any books on it. I heard like things on Instagram, do this, do that. And I would try these things and it wouldn't really do anything. And I didn't know, like, I went to therapy around it. And it was like, I kind of get these like affirmations that were like, really spacey and like it wasn't a solid concept. And I just didn't resonate with any of it. And I just felt lost constantly. And I found this one guy who just he spoke it in a way that I could understand it. And it was one of the things he said was stop negotiating with yourself. And the other thing he said was every time you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, your body or your subconscious logs that, it tracks that, and it remembers that.
Hmm.
And if you do that enough times, you will subconsciously believe that you can't trust yourself. And
Oh
that is
wow.
self-confidence, right? I really wanted self-confidence because I had none.
Yeah.
Self-esteem, I had none. And so that was like, it felt like a golden ticket when I learned that. I was like, oh my God, like I am not a person of my word. I'm not a person of integrity. And I'm constantly not doing the things that I said I was going to do, even just to myself, right?
Hmm.
And I found out that the reverse is also true. So if you say you're going to do something and you do it every time, your body also logs that, right? And then you slowly become a person that you can trust. And so now I like going to the gym. I like doing those things because it makes me feel good. But before it was like, I have to go because if I don't, I'm going to fall off.
Yeah.
And then all that work I've done, it just crashes and burns. And now it's like, I can take a break from tracking. I can take a break from the gym because it's like, I trust myself so much that I know I can get back on track. And it's because I show up. I do the things I say I'm gonna do, and it's for me. It started with cold showers. Um, I really hated the cold. I hated doing that. So it was like I felt this calling to go into things that caused me discomfort because my whole life it was seeking comfort,
Yeah.
and it almost led to my destruction. And it was like I think I need to spend a lot of time getting comfortable with being in discomfort.
Yeah, yeah, you could honestly say that's the key to being successful is being comfortable with uncomfortability. you
Mhm.
know, like the people that are like most comfortable when it comes to like either doom scrolling, watching porn, jerking off, all those
Yeah.
type of things, right? Like that's all things that make you feel good in the moment, like super comfortable. But if you look at the most successful people in the world, they all do things that are uncomfortable, the hard things to do, but they do those things every single day. And as you said, they don't negotiate with themselves. And that's just
Yeah.
that's literally the key to success right there, is being comfortable with uncomfortability.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the major things I learned was that, you know, doing the things that you say you're going to do builds that self-trust. Stopping negotiating with yourself is key for that. But then not actively avoiding discomfort. And in fact, if you can lean into that discomfort, that's where the growth is. And now it's like I almost welcome it.
Mm,
Like I work a career outside of coaching, and it's very high stress. It involves millions of dollars, and it's very stressful a lot of the time. And I spent I spent the first 2 years there really anxious that I was going to make a massive error and screw things up. And I was doing all this fitness work and self growth in that time, and it slowly shifted where now like I welcome those moments because it's like what I said, I'm starting to find my limits and like lean into that where it's like this is going to be really uncomfortable,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
know afterwards like I'm going to be so much better for it. And like there's fear, like that never goes away, I don't think. But something else that I tell myself is like you feel that fear and then do it anyways.
Hmm.
And then you're either going to fail and learn something from it hopefully and then you're better the next time, or you're going to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's totally right. I got like one more question here too for you.
Mhm.
Your situation, you have two daughters, you work a full-time job, and on top of that, you're consistently filming content every single day. You don't miss a day filming content, which I find it extremely impressive. And then on top of that too, you're coaching guys, transforming their lives. What do you have to say to anyone watching this right now that might feel like they're in a situation where they feel like they don't have enough time to do the like pursue their goals and whatnot because their life is so busy? How do you time manage that into your life where you can
Mm,
actually pursue those goals with your chaotic life?
it's funny because there's the answer to that I think actually encompasses my fitness journey where I picked one thing to get really good at and I focused on that for about 2 weeks. And if I could consistently do that one thing, then I would start to trust myself that I could do that one thing consistently. And then I would add in a new thing as well as the old thing. And I call this like, you know, there's there's a similar concept in financing, like paying off debt. They call it the debt snowball, where you pay off your biggest debt first and put everything you can into, or sorry, your smallest debt first, put everything you can into that, pay off that debt. Now you've got more money to put towards your bigger debt, and then your bigger debt, and then it snowballs. And then before you know it, you've got the one final big debt, but you've got a bigger shovel now because you've cleared out all those smaller debts.
Yeah.
So what I would do previously, I would try and change my whole life overnight, and it was too much. It wasn't sustainable. And rather than like, okay, January 1st, I'm going to eat differently. I'm going to train. I'm going to get up at this time, and I'm going to do these things overnight. I picked one thing, and I got really good at that one thing, and then I added in another thing, and then another thing. And so it's similar with my time management. Um, I would make that time for just one new thing. So my family came first.
Hmm.
So I put everything into my family. And once I kind of got that figured out and we had like the routines down,
Yeah.
I started to look at like, okay, I wake up at 8 a.m. What if I woke up an hour earlier? Now there's a new hour that I didn't have before. I can slot these things in. And then I would look at like the end of my day when I put the kids to bed.
Hmm.
I've got maybe 2 hours after we finish cleaning and getting all our food and stuff ready for the week and all those things. where I can sit down with like my wife and we watch TV. Well, what if we just watch an hour of TV? And I started to look at like the priorities of the things
Mm,
that I was doing in my life and swapping out those things that were no longer serving me and trying to add in things that did serve me. And those new things would take me quite a long time because I wasn't very good at them.
yeah.
Like filming content would take me like an hour to make like a video with writing the script and editing it and like posting it. And like I didn't know how to do those things, but eventually I got better at it. Now I can make like a piece of content in 5 minutes. And
Yeah.
now I'll like batch like 5 or 6 videos. So if there is a day where like it's crazy and I don't have time to film, I've got something already ready.
Hmm.
And it's like a little bit of preparation goes a long way.
Yeah, it's crazy how those things that are so hard and feel impossible at the start that you're trying to do, say for like a week, 2 weeks, and it just you're seeing no improvement, right? It's crazy once you actually sustainably continue on like what we're talking about, like you continuously do it, how it just you don't notice it, you never ever notice it instantly, but it's just
Mm,
like right, like next thing you know, and then you look back 6 months and you're like, holy smokes, like I can do this way better now. I'm actually seeing like real improvement. And I think that's what stops a lot of people from actually achieving things, is that they haven't stuck with it long enough to actually see those results. They don't even know. They hear guys talking about it, but they don't actually know because they haven't done it long enough to stuck with something long enough to actually see those compounding results. Because you are right, it's like a snowballing kind of
yeah.
compound result, right?
One of the things I wanted to mention before we wrap it up is I've noticed some parallels in my life now with, because I'm getting old. I'm almost 40. So like compared to you, I've seen a lot. And I've noticed these patterns with different, containers of my life, you could call it. So I've like recovery, trying to get sober, um, my career, fitness, and there's lots of things that line up together. And so like I can take a lesson from getting sober and apply it to fitness and so on and so forth, right? And one of the things I've noticed is when you start something new, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is nothing happens for a long time. And almost everybody, unless they are like brutally disciplined, they quit.
Yeah.
And so I had this with my fitness journey. Um, I I was in a deficit for probably 4 weeks, and the scale wasn't moving, and I didn't know why. And I was committed to it, so I wasn't going to quit, but it was really demotivating. And everything I kept researching was like, it will happen, it will happen, it will happen. And now one of the things I do is I trust the process, right? If somebody ahead of me says this is what you do, you'll get there, I stick to it and I get through it. And back then I didn't know that every little bit of body fat you're losing, you're gaining water weight at an almost equal rate. So I was losing weight, but I was also gaining water weight. So I was making progress, but it didn't feel like it, right? And so
Mm,
with the fitness coaching, there was a long stretch of time where I was making content, I was putting in the time, building systems, building programs, doing this, doing that, and I was getting no results. And I wasn't going to quit because like by now I'm pretty disciplined. Like if I say I'm going to do something, I do it,
yeah.
but it still feels not great.
Yeah.
And there was a long period of time where it was like, man, like I'm crushing out all this work and I'm getting nothing back. And then I started looking like at my fitness experience where it's like, that's how it was. You're you're still moving forward, even though it doesn't feel like it, right? And
Hmm.
so nowadays I trust the process, and it's an important process. I think it really weeds out the people that are serious or not.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. I completely agree. Well, anyways, it was a great chat. It
Yeah,
was,
man.
yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a part of my first podcast.
Yeah. Thanks for having
Yeah.
me on. It was
Yeah.
awesome.